This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
It is the After Party live on Hide in Your Cave Monday. Welcome to it. Thank you for being here. And I see everybody in the chat talking and chit-chatting, and I'm so glad you guys are here communicating with each other. So cool to see everybody. Hello to Rhonda, and hello to Gordon, and hello to everyone. Yeah, so nice to see you guys. Thank you to everyone who contributes to this show. The After Party Live can only function because you help it do that. And so huge thank you to everyone who contributes via PayPal. The address for that is in the show description and in the About tab. And thank you also to everyone who does the super chats and super stickers and everything like that. Love Michael Schur today on the Mark Thompson Show. Michael Schur will be with us again tomorrow, along with David K. Johnston. And on Wednesday, we'll have Michael Schur along with John Rothman. And then Mark will be back on Thursday. Let's jump into some of the stories that we have today here on the After Party. And the first one has to do with this car. It's a pretty nice looking car. I mean, it's a Honda, it's fine, right? It'll get you from where you need to be. It's kind of stylish looking. This car was stolen from a man in the UK. His name is Ewan Valentine. He discovered that his 2016 black 2016 Honda Civic Type R, this is a white one, his is a black one, had been stolen from its overnight parking space. He discovered this back in February. And so he wants to replace his car, and he loves his car. So he starts looking around. He ends up buying a car, pays more than $26,000 to replace his car that was stolen, and later figures out he bought his own car back. So how much do you have to love your car to seek it out again and buy the same car unknowingly? He said he was distraught about the loss, and he was trying to replace the car with a nearly identical vehicle. And he said, sure enough, I found the one for sale. Same color, same year, same custom exhaust system, everything. The license plates and the VIN number were different than the ones on his stolen car. So he says he didn't think too much about the similarities until he had already paid more than $26,000 for the replacement. And he said, I started to notice some things when I got it home. He said, I noticed a tent peg and some Christmas tree pines in the trunk. I noticed the locking wheel nut was in a Tesco sandwich bag. I noticed some wrappers in the central storage section, all oddly similar to my stolen car. So he decides to check the car's onboard GPS system, and he discovers that it had previously been to his house, his parents' house, even his partner's parents' house. He said, part of me felt triumphant for a moment until I realized this is not some heroic moment. You didn't go out and get your car back. You've done something a bit stupid. So he takes the car to a Honda dealership. They confirm the VIN number is a fake. The car is indeed the one that was stolen from him. He said the first Honda tech pulled the physical key out, puts it straight into the door and unlocks it. And he's like, yep, it's your car. He said he doesn't believe that the garage who sold him the car knew it was stolen. The police and the Honda garage all said it's one of the best clone jobs that they'd ever seen. So if it wasn't for the little artifacts that he left behind, that maybe no one would really know. So right now, the police are going through this car looking for forensic evidence. They're going to turn all of that over to the insurance company. The insurance company is actually going to take possession of the car, get it road legal again in a position that it can be insured on his original policy, or they'll pay out for the car if that all of that costs more than the car. So just funny that he was looking for a very similar car and he finds the same car that gets stolen. Speaking of cars, how much do you really need on a car? Like, if you didn't have the radio, would that be okay? If you didn't have an AC, would that be all right? What kind of bells and whistles are a must for you on a car? Because if you didn't need all that stuff, car might actually be more affordable. Jeff Bezos has backed this startup. They offer bare bones but customizable electric vehicles. So if you don't need the stereo and you don't need all this stuff, this pickup truck being called minimalist is 20 grand. That's not bad for an electric car, right? Yeah. This is a slate truck. It's called the slate truck. So it's the bare bones electric vehicle pickup with a price of between $20,000 and $25,000. They still have a ways to go before they get these things on the road. But the thought is that if you didn't need all the stuff that comes along with a car and you really were looking to switch to an electric vehicle, that electric vehicles that might not be affordable to a lot of people that want to switch would be affordable in this way. So you don't get a stereo, you don't get the whole infotainment system, gone. Power windows, nope. Uh, those things that are now standard accessories, you can be installed for upgrade features for additional cost. But off the lot, the EV still aims for a 5-star crash rating, forward collision warnings, up to 8 airbags, active emergency brakes. So the things that I would consider to be important, right? They offer you an upgrade like a do-it-yourself flat pack accessory SUV kit. So you can transform this from an open air truck to a 5-seat ride. It includes the battery pack, rear wheel drive, 150-mile target range. There's an additional battery pack option aiming for a 240-mile range to be included as well. And it can reach 80% battery charge in under 30 minutes. So, the Slate truck, this is what it's called, the Slate truck. The company is trying to manufacture the basic components in the United States. Its motor, wheels, battery, and other parts might get caught up in the whole Trump tariff thing. We'll see how this works out. They're promising, Slate is, to do as much of the manufacturing as possible in a reindustrialized Midwest factory. So in Troy, Michigan. So we'll see how it goes for them. Not for sale yet, but if you were okay foregoing all the creature comforts inside the cab, perhaps this might be an affordable option for someone looking for an electric vehicle. Here's the story of this woodpecker. He's doing what woodpeckers do, right? A little too well, as a matter of fact. A little too good at his job. This woodpecker is called Ferocious. He is damaged. I say he, maybe it's a she, I don't know. This woodpecker has damaged 25 vehicles in this Massachusetts town, Rockport, Massachusetts. This is a very territorial, pileated woodpecker. And apparently its beak is being compared to a jackhammer. Neighbors say we have a vandal. The neighborhood has seen at least 25 vehicles targeted by this bird, who pecks out the side view mirrors or the windows. The woodpecker, according to one person, showed up, landed on the windshield wipers of the RV in our yard, and was looking at its reflection. And they said, you know what? I bet he was the one that damaged the mirrors as well. Some residents have started protecting their mirrors with plastic wrap or sweaters while the vehicles are not in use. So they're trying to cover up parts of the vehicle the bird would target. One guy says this woodpecker cracked his passenger side window while he was sitting inside the truck. He said, when it landed on the window, I thought it was my girlfriend tapping on the window. I was like, oh, I'm in trouble. It was staring me right in the eyes for 30 seconds. There are animal experts that say this woodpecker's behavior can be likely explained by the current mating season, in which the males of the species are known to become fiercely territorial. Wildlife experts say this is a ferocious bird. They're really, really strong. It's the biomechanical equivalent of a hammer. And he said it makes sense for the woodpecker to be targeting reflective surfaces. If they're seeing their reflections of themselves, they don't understand it's a reflection, and they could think perhaps it's a competitor. And so there it goes. As I say, woodpeckers doing what woodpeckers do. But yeah, this neighborhood is being hit hard by this woodpecker. This next story is submitted by shadow producer Calvin Wong, and it is about why Yoda in the Star Wars movies speaks the way he does. And after 45 years, George Lucas is finally telling everyone why Yoda speaks like that, speaks kind of in backward, strange sentences. We know Yoda first appeared in the 1980s film The Empire Strikes Back, and people were captivated by his wisdom, right? But his best known trait is his unusual speech pattern, using a different word order than maybe most of us will. Like, much to learn you still have, right? So there was a 45th anniversary screening of The Empire Strikes Back in Hollywood. And George Lucas said Yoda's speech was a way to get people to pay attention to what he said. Lucas said if you speak regular English, people won't listen that much. But if he had an accent or if he's hard to understand what he's saying, then people will actually focus on what he's saying. Lucas said Yoda was basically the philosopher of this movie. So I had to figure out a way to get people to actually listen, especially 12-year-olds. And so the reason that Yoda speaks in, I'll call it backward sentences, is to get people to listen to what he's saying. And it totally worked, didn't it? Brilliant. Thanks, Calvin, for that story. Much appreciated. You can always find me at kim@theafterparty.live, kim@theafterparty.live. If you find a story you think is worthy that we should check out, kim@theafterparty.live is the best way to get me. All right. I saw this story, and I hope it's not too old now, but these Chinese astronauts are headed to the Tiangong space station. And they look kind of happy, right? Yay, look at them. They look very astronauty. They're starting a 6-month-long mission aboard the Tiangong space station. And it made me think about that space station, and I thought, is it connected at all to the International Space Station? Are they, they doing anything with the ISS? No. No. As a matter of fact, then I went down a rabbit hole of researching the Tiangong space station. It is similar but different to the International Space Station. And I was looking at this story on the Space Bucket website about how it compares to the ISS. And what's interesting is the Chinese space station, the Tiangong space station, has 3 modules that have connected together, which is a lot different than the International Space Station. The primary modules, I think they have, I want to say 7. They have multiple modules for the International Space Station, but still similar in size. So they sent them up in 2021. So the Tiangong is relatively fresh as far as the equipment that they've got. Kind of interesting. One of the main differences is the size. Yeah, the ISS is made up of 16. I said 7, my bad. 16 pressurized modules, which feature a common diameter of about 4.2 meters. The Tiangong has 3 main modules. They share the same diameter, but the Chinese station has a much more modern interior, less electronics and various instruments. And they say part of this can be attributed to the fact that the ISS is an aging station, with the initial segments having launched in 1998. Although old, they write, some overtime technology has been updated and is capable of completing the tasks at hand for the astronauts in the station. So the Tiangong space station is much newer and more modern is the difference there. So if you didn't know, I thought I would share that with you. Speaking of Chinese expeditions to space, the Chinese came back with a bunch of rocks from the moon, and they're sharing them with the rest of the world, which is pretty cool. With the United States and 5 other countries, they will allow the other countries to examine these moon rocks that they collected in 2020 on their lunar mission. They call them a shared treasure for all humanity. The United States does not return that favor because Congress has restricted NASA collaborating with China. But the Chinese Space Agency listed Brown University and the State University of New York at Stony Brook as two of 7 institutions that have permission to borrow the moon rocks collected by China. Other institutions: Osaka University in Japan, the Paris Institute of Planetary Physics, the University of Cologne in Germany, the British Open University, and Pakistan's Space and Upper Atmosphere Research Commission. They say we look forward to scientists worldwide making more scientific discoveries, jointly expanding human knowledge and benefiting all of humanity. We have moon rocks too. The United States and the Soviet Union collected moon rocks before China. But these rocks seem to be a billion years younger than moon rocks collected by the US Apollo missions. So that's interesting. They also brought lunar rocks back to Earth last year as well. So the possibility exists that we could see even more of these being shared and more research being done. Speaking of kind of geological formations, how about the cap, the magma cap found at Yellowstone? It was discovered less than 4 kilometers underneath Yellowstone National Park. And so scientists now think that this cap could be helping stop volcanic systems from erupting by constantly releasing gases and pressure from underneath its surface. They call it a breathing cap of magma, stopping one of the largest active volcanic systems in the world from exploding. The scientists know that Yellowstone National Park sits on top of a huge pool of active magma. That's the reason that you see the bubbling mud pots and the steaming geysers and everything like that in this area. But now they've found this cap of magma rich with volatiles or dissolved gases that can cause eruptions. And again, it's 3.8 kilometers below Yellowstone's surface. And so the thinking is that this cap is helping stop the volcanic system from erupting by releasing gases and pressure a little bit here, a little bit there, venting these gases through cracks and channels between mineral crystals. It's like a steady breathing with bubbles rising, releasing through the rock. There are researchers from Rice University, the University of New Mexico, the University of Utah, University of Texas at Dallas, who have studied this. They're now publishing their findings in the Nature Science Journal. They used these trucks that usually are used for oil and gas exploration to create these tiny earthquakes and send seismic waves underground. They're called vibroseas. And they went out at night and did this because the park is usually so busy during the day, and collected their data. And that's how they figured out the depth of the cap and what they think is happening here. So what they do say is it's hard to tell how the magma system today compares with the eruptions in the past. And so what's really keeping eruptions at bay, they're not sure, but it's interesting, the new discoveries being found there. There was an issue with a thing called the magic circle. They only let male magicians into the magic circle. And for more than 30 years, there's been a woman who's been trying to get in. Her name is Sophie Lloyd. Finally, the magic circle has tracked her down to apologize and to give her membership. She had fooled the magic circle years and years ago before she got kicked out. In 1991, Sophie Lloyd tricked the magic circle into thinking that she was a man. And they kicked her out, and now finally, realizing that they were a bunch of jerks about it, they have tracked her down to apologize and reinstate her membership, making good on something that they say was wrong. She said, "I'd played a boy before. It took months of preparation, though, to secretly infiltrate the Magic Circle's ranks a half a year before it would officially vote to let women in. She said, "You go back 30 years and men's clubs were like that. The men only rule had been in place since the circle was formed in 1905. The thinking behind it? Women just can't keep secrets." Oh, yeah? Well, Lloyd said at the time she was up for the challenge of showing that women could be as good as magic as men, and so she tricked him. She took an acting class. She had a wig made. She had plumpers made on a brace to bring the jawline down. She said the biggest test came when she was invited for a drink with her examiner and she had to fake having laryngitis. She said she sat there for almost 2 hours and had to say, "I'm sorry, I've got a bad voice," right? Anyway, she's kicked out. The Magic Circle finally, 3 decades later, puts out a nationwide appeal saying they want to apologize. They tracked her down in Spain, and they said they are sorry. So, um, yeah, there you go. Finally, progress. They have some 3D printed calamari on the menu. Again, finally, I guess you could say. This is about plant-based alternatives to seafood. And the researchers at the National University of Singapore have showcased their efforts at this nutritious 3D printed vegan calamari ring. You could tell the vegan calamari ring because it looks way too perfect. They say it tastes similar to the real thing, but originally when they did this in 2023, they say the texture just wasn't quite there. And so they've been at it for a couple years of trial and error, and they finally have returned with an updated fried calamari recipe. And they say this really matches the real thing. And not only that, it'll give you 5% more protein than eating actual squid. They published their research in the American Chemical Society. So, better for you, I guess, more protein for you, and tastes just like calamari. Which one do you order? If you're faced with both on the menu, which one do you pick? The one with more protein and they taste exactly the same? It's starting its life, the plant-based recipe, as paste made from isolated mung bean protein and powdered microalgae. But they've determined a mixture of extra ingredients to give the fake calamari its textural springiness, so a little rubbery taste there. In addition to 10% powdered microalgae, the improved mixture also includes gellan gum for thickening and 2% canola oil for fat content. Each calamari 3D ring is printed 1.8 inches wide. The uncooked rings are frozen overnight and then battered quickly and deep fried in their vegan calamariness before being sent to the taste tests. Inside the cooked paste resides small structural voids that modify its overall softness in ways that better resemble actual seafood. So they got the texture much more correct in this new version of the plant-based calamari. They say now it's a matter of scaling the product and convincing hungry diners to give it a try. So what do you think? If you're at the restaurant, which calamari do you order? Do you order the faker or do you order the real? Mm. Donald says the press on this company is blown up. Are you talking about, I don't know if you're talking about this or not. Yeah, not sure. I think maybe you're talking about the trucks. Frying anything makes it better. Yeah. Rev P says most vegans I know don't want meat substitutes. Tammy says I wasn't a fan of the calamari texture to begin with. Deidre's ordering the real thing. Sorry, she's not doing it. Eeyore says vegan calamari. No, not going to do that. It looks like onion ring, says Rhonda. I think I'd rather have an onion ring than fake calamari or any calamari, but I'm not a big fan of seafood. So, I don't know. Yeah. Heather says, I found a steak substitute made out of mushroom root that's super good. Now I can join Steve when he wants to do a steak night at home. Oh, see? Some people do like the alternatives. So, Sandy says either way, if I'm getting it at a restaurant, I'd prefer real calamari, but I'd try the fake stuff. I'll try anything once. If if I knew, I mean, I'm probably not ordering calamari anyway, but I think if people knew that maybe there was some kind of shortage of animals, I always forget whether it's octopus or squid that makes calamari. Um some type of shortage, squid shortage or what have you, then perhaps they would be more motivated to order the plant-based. I don't know. I'm not sure. Squid. Yeah, squid. Thank you, Liz. I appreciate it. Cause see, I don't order it, so I don't know. Neither does Heather, but she knows. They should make some fake abalone. I might eat that. Rhonda says I just used the huge mushroom for a steak sub on a grill. There you go. Yeah. I will say the fake one doesn't look so bad. Sea Dog could try the plant-based version. Yeah, why not? Give it a shot. It's got more protein. Might as well go for it. Right? Yeah. All right, we'll move on to, I know, from food to a cremation pit. Probably not so appetizing now. They found some interesting stuff, though, in this cremation pit, including a wheel from an Iron Age chariot. It's at this golf course. They found this cremation pit, the Highland Golf Course in the UK. And archaeologists found this pit used for cremations thousands of years ago. They found flint tools and evidence of at least 25 Neolithic wooden buildings uncovered during excavations at the site of the new Old Petty Championship golf course near Inverness, Scotland. And they described the discovery of this chariot wheel as really rare. There you can see part of the chariot wheel. It's a 3,500-year-old Bronze Age cremation urn and evidence of medieval field systems and grain drying kilns were among other finds found here. They say this is part of evidence of farming life in this area from more than 6,000 years ago. The finds are going to be radiocarbon dated and documented before being passed to museums in Inverness and Edinburgh. They say it's really a rare thing, though. None of us had seen a chariot wheel in terms of physically excavating one. They thought maybe it was a piece of equipment buried by a farmer in more recent times, but then the remains were found in this cremation burial pit inside of a palisade circle, which is an area enclosed by a fence made of wooden posts. And they think that the wheel was placed in the pit as part of a ceremony, because they say they found similar things in England as well. It's believed to be the first item from a chariot to be discovered in the Highlands and one of only about 5 in the whole of Scotland. So, a piece of horse harness was found during an archaeological dig at an Iron Age site as well. They say it's humbling to think that our championship golf course, Old Petty, rests on such historically rich ground. I don't know if I'd want to play golf over an old cremation pit. I don't know. Remember this lady? She had the world's biggest mouth bite, the world's biggest bite. I thought it was a great picture to use for this because a new study out of the University of Sydney suggests bacteria and other microorganisms living in your mouth could spark migraines. Who knew? Researchers asked more than 150 women to fill out a questionnaire about their mouth health based on the World Health Organization's Oral Health Survey, along with collecting some saliva samples. The study's lead author says researchers found incredibly strong signs connecting mouth health to pain triggers. Scientists still working to find how microbes contribute to pain. But isn't that interesting? How mouth health is somehow now being linked to all of these different things, including Alzheimer's research, right? What's happening in our mouths can be connected to so many other different things. So I know we'll get her big bite off of the screen. It is time for the lotto of the day. This one out of Illinois. This tourist won a lottery prize of more than $3 million while visiting Chicago. The tourist made a stop at a local store. The visitor's nicknamed Traveling Treasure. I guess you can use a fake name in Illinois. Said Traveling Treasure said he came to Chicago to see the popular tourist sites. He said, I've been to Chicago before, but never had a chance to explore the tourist spots. So on this trip, I made sure to see as much as I could. He said, I visited Skydeck at Willis Tower, checked out some filming locations from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and couldn't leave without seeing the Bean. And he stopped at Como Wine and Liquor during his trip, bought a Fast Play Ultimate Diamond jackpot ticket, and before heading back to his hotel, he said, I stopped. I saw this Ultimate Diamond jackpot game at a pretty high prize, so I decided to try my luck and bought a ticket. And when I got back to the hotel, I checked it, and I saw I won the jackpot, more than $3 million. He said it was a moment of shock and awe that had him completely frozen. He already has big plans for his winning. Travel Treasure says, I've been wanting to buy a house for a while, but with how expensive real estate is these days, it hasn't been possible. Then recently, he said, I found out my landlord is selling the apartment I've been renting, so now I have to move out. I feel, he said, incredibly lucky. This win couldn't have come at a better time. Thank goodness, right? I'll tell you, your landlord's selling your apartment out from under you, and now you've got enough money to move, buy a house, do the things you want to do. That's great. All right, let's talk about surfing dogs. There are these dogs conquering the waves in Florida at the Brevard Humane Society's 13th annual East Coast Dog Surfing Festival. So let's take a look, because I have the video to show you of all these dogs surfing, and they're pretty cute. Yeah, so many people gathering for the surfing dog festival. Look at that. It's pretty cute. They say there were 23 dogs riding surfboards and shredding waves on Sunday. More than 5,000 people showed up here. The winner defended his title from 2024. Sammy the Chiweenie, a cross between a Chihuahua and a Dachshund, took the top spot in this year's competition. They say the dogs really want to surf just like people. It's another way that they can show the public that animals are part of the family. So there were dogs in bikinis and dogs in trunks and dogs surfing on the shore, dogs really surfing out in the ocean. There you go. Pretty cute. I hope the dogs aren't freaked out by all this. Some of them really love it, and some of them you look at and you're like, I don't know.
Maneuvering with the board and taking the ride. It's all about the ride. Goes to Sammy.
So there you go. There's the winner. Winner, chicken dinner. So that's how they roll in Florida with the surfing dog festivals. I want to, before we get to some of the caves that I have to show you today, I thought maybe we'd talk about umbilical cords. I've always thought there was something about umbilical cords. When I had my babies, they were just starting to figure out that you should leave them attached for a few minutes after birth because there are some type of nutrients that are important that we didn't realize before that are still flowing into the baby even after birth. And so now they try not to cut the cord so quickly. But now there's research that say the umbilical cord could contain clues for a child's future health. That if doctors analyze the umbilical cord blood, they could predict a newborn's long term health outlook because there are genetic clues found in cord blood that can determine which infants are at higher risk for health problems like diabetes or stroke or liver disease, even later in life. There's a meeting in San Diego. It's called Digestive Disease Week. I know it's the conference you want to go to, right? But there's a talk being given on this week. They say we're seeing kids develop metabolic problems earlier and earlier, which puts them at higher risk for serious complications as adults. So, if we can identify the risk at birth, then they might be able to prevent it. They looked at the umbilical cord blood of 38 infants enrolled in this long-term study out of North Carolina. They were looking at chemical patterns in infants' DNA that switch genes on or off. They say when these switches happen in critical parts of the DNA, their health effects can persist through fetal development and into later life. So they compared the DNA changes to the kids' health at age 7 to 12, and they identified multiple areas where genes and cord blood predicted health problems in childhood. It's fascinating. Umbilical cords and umbilical cord blood, there's so much we don't know. They said, for one example, this gene called TNS3 was linked to fatty liver, liver inflammation or damage, and excess belly fat as measured by waist to hip ratio. Changes in other genes connected to blood pressure, waist to hip ratio, liver inflammation, damage, all genetic. The epigenetic signals, they said, are laid down during embryonic development, possibly influenced by environmental factors such as nutrition or maternal health during pregnancy as well. And they say, even though their sample size was small, 38, the links were so powerful that these findings warrant further investigation. So they've got a larger follow-up study. Supposedly, it's funded by the National Institutes of Health. So we'll see if that ends up happening. But one of the things the researcher said is just because you may have been born with these markers doesn't mean that the disease is inevitable. But if you know that you have a risk, and your parents know it earlier in life, that it could help doctors, families take proactive steps to support your long-term health and get ahead of it. The researchers are going to be presenting their findings May 4th at medical meetings, and it's considered preliminary until they get it into a peer-reviewed journal, which hasn't happened yet, but I thought that was interesting. Okay, I have now some caves for you because it is time to check out Hide in Your Caves Monday. And one of the caves I found, all of the caves this week, by the way, are crystal caves. And there are crystal caves around the world. One of the interesting crystal caves I found is in Bermuda. Now, this is a cave that they're going to charge you to get into. It's about $25 to go and see the crystal cave in Bermuda. But it's easy to maneuver in this one and easy to get around as well. So here's the crystal cave in Bermuda. How cool is that? You can walk in there and see all these amazing things. It's one of the most dramatic cave systems at the Crystal Caves of Bermuda. So you start this whole tour in this lush garden that's lined with royal palms, and then you descend into one of these two caves, the Crystal Cave you see here, or a fantasy cave. Both of them feature soaring stalagmites and icicles of white limestone dripping from the ceiling, cross the floating bridge to peer into a crystal clear lake, which reveals a more intricate look at rock formations underwater. They give tours here daily. Again, it's $25 to get in. Don't have to have reservations, but they do say wear rubber-soled shoes because you'll be walking a lot. There's even a little gift shop there as well. So, that is the Crystal Caves of Bermuda. It's so pretty. Look at the picture. Wow. Can you imagine being under there checking it out? Very, very interesting. There are also crystal caves located in Ukraine. Not sure if you knew this, but this is called the Optimistic Cave in Ukraine. These are massive crystals guarded by clay creatures that have been sculpted over the years by speleologists that studied this down here. Many of these guys, I say guys because I think that's what they are, they will live down here for weeks or months at a time, trying to map these passages and figure out how big these caves really are. Here's a picture I have of this. Oops, sorry, I have to take this one down. There it is. Oops, that's just me. Can you see that? There he is. Yeah. Look at the crystal under there. That's pretty cool. So yeah, these people, they live here. They live in these caves and study at least for a month at a time. It's fascinating. Fascinating. And go down into these caves and they go on and on and on and on. And they're still trying to map these caves to figure out what the reach is inside and how long it goes on. They're pretty cool. Again, that's the Optimistic Caves in Ukraine. Then we have the Crystal Cave in Spain. So popular that you can go spelunking for geodes. They have it as part of when you go on a cruise ship, you can do excursions. This is one of the excursions on the Royal Caribbean. You can go to the Crystal Caves in Spain and go spelunking for geodes. No joke. It's the Pulpy Geode, one of the most surreal crystal caves, not only in Spain, but they say around the entire world. The caves are called remarkable for both their size and for the perfection of the crystals found inside. Many of the crystals the size of a grown human. The Pulpy Geode, they say, isn't one of a typical tourist attractions. It's pure adventure, and they say it should be a focal point of one of your next getaways. So they say that these crystal caves in Spain didn't come to light until someone stumbled on them. In this case, it was a research team doing geology and a geochemistry study inside an abandoned mine in 1999. It had been one of the largest stores of mineral wealth in the country of Spain from 1840 until the Spanish Civil War. This study involved creating a detailed map of the underground mining facility, and while they were exploring the caves, they came upon this stunning sight, a geode, which is a hollow cavity or chamber lined with crystals, and it came to be known as the Pulpy Geode, which apparently you can walk inside, and it's super, super cool. And I have to show you the images where you can just sit inside the geode. Hold on. I'll show it to you. I'll view the file. I mean, this is a wow. Do I see myself wanting to go and be inside of this? Not necessarily, but I think the picture is super cool. Check out this. Is that amazing? Look at that. Let's see if I can make it even bigger. This person sitting inside the Pulpy Geode in Spain. Pretty special. So I will say the Pulpy Geode is composed of a mineral called gypsum, which renders these geodes so transparent that they look like giant icicles. Some of them are more than 6 feet tall. The crystals typically form when liquids cool and harden. And in the pulpy geode, the crystals are believed to have formed at 68 degrees Fahrenheit, just below the surface, which caused the gypsum minerals there to dissolve and eventually recrystallize over thousands of years. Due to the purity of these crystals, the research team has been unable to accurately determine their date of origin, though they estimate their age to be between 60,000 and 2 million years old. That's quite a range. But because of this mystery in this area, scientists think the crystals form through a process called Ostwald ripening, where the large crystals are created from the dissolution of smaller crystals. But however old it is, the pulpy geode is one of the most magical geological features in all of Spain. And so many people try to go and get a little piece of it for themselves. So interesting, isn't it? So that's the pulpy geode in Spain. So we went to Bermuda, Ukraine, and Spain. As a matter of fact, the BBC had this video that they put out about the walking into the world's largest crystal cave. And here it is in Spain, and you can see as they go toward the pulpy geode, the glittering of the walls. Let me take this picture down and show you some of this video before we end the show, because I definitely want to share this with you. Here's what it looks like inside.
Era lo que a ellos les rentaba.
I'll take the audio down. There they are walking through this cave. I hope you can see this. There it is, a little bit bigger. They have to test for breathing, but here's what it looks like. Oops, I was talking about that. Giving you the history of the cave. There she is, just sitting in there amongst all these crystals. So incredible looking. I think it's a little too far back for me to be inside the cave. I think I would freak out. But they love how the geologists are just so calmly sitting there way back inside the geode like this. It sure is fascinating and otherworldly. Look at that. It's almost like one of those pictures from, or one of those scenes from, I forget what movie it was, where they drill down into the core of the earth. Very cool. There are pictures in this video where they're walking along and the walls start to sparkle. This is as you're headed toward the pulpy geode. Yeah. Anyway, that's a little bit of what the BBC had to show. All right. I think we got there, you guys. We absolutely did it. Tomorrow, 11 a.m., the Mark Thompson Show. David K. Johnston will be on the show. Michael Schur in the captain's seat. He's trying to line up some other guests. So it's going to be a great show, and I really hope that you'll join for that. Calvin says, I claim this land in the name of Spain. Oh, we're there already. Yeah. Journey to the center of the earth. Is that what it was? Journey to the center of the earth when they turn the lights off. Yeah. Nolaphidian says it was in Australia. The cave would be eating Vegemite. The core. That's what it was. That's the one I was thinking of. Thank you, Mo. Of the core. Absolutely. Yeah, I know. For me too. Takes a lot of the pressure off. So yeah, very cool. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for the contributions to the After Party Live. Thank you for your patience and waiting for the show to start, and then for participating once it does. I hope that that you're able to come back tomorrow. We'll do Travel Tuesday tomorrow, and we'll have some more great stories ahead, including one story that I have on tap about that you can buy a shipwreck. Did you know that? You can buy a shipwreck. We'll talk a little bit more about why and how that's possible tomorrow. Louise coming in at the end of the show with $5. The After Party Live, the coolest cave to take refuge from life's troubles. I'll tell you, the Crystal Cave is pretty cool. Thank you, Luis, for the $5. So appreciate it. And thank you again, everyone, for being here. All right. I will see you tomorrow. Until then, till we meet again, go out and make it the very best day you can. Bye.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.
Sorry, that was all wrong. I didn't mean to assault your ears. Ooh, I'd love it. Bring her, bring her, bring her.